the NFL's crazy extension week, and MLB trades. That is all the topics on the first episode of the third season of Friday Leagues with Jon Gordon. I'm Jon Gordon, and I'll just take a little bit of your time to tell you about the most recent news that's happening around the major leagues. Welcome in, and let's get started. Alrighty, let's start off with the NFL's incredibly crazy extension week, because the NFL's top stars this whole week have been getting their money from their teams. And let's start off with Zay Flowers and the Ravens, because Zay Flowers has signed a 4-year, $140 million deal extension with the Ravens with $108 million guaranteed. Yes, you are hearing that right from me. That is $108 million guaranteed out of his 4-year, $140 million extension deal. That is just crazy and unheard of for guaranteed money. But Zay Flowers has been productive over his time with the Ravens. He's been able to be that true wide receiver one that they needed when they drafted him for Lamar Jackson. He's been able to produce time after time, and this will just give him more motivation to just have him keep going and keep producing and really becoming that true wide receiver one alpha that Lamar Jackson desperately needs to maybe make it to a Super Bowl. And now let's switch off to another incredible star who just got paid. Let's talk about Jonathan Taylor. Yes, Jonathan Taylor has signed a 2-year, $44 million extension with the Colts, with $39 million of that 3-year or 2-year, $44 million deal guaranteed. That is a very good price to get Jonathan Taylor, who's been consistent and extremely good at the top of the league for his time with the Colts, even though the Colts haven't done too much with their timing with Jonathan Taylor. Keeping him for these 2 years and this extension to his deal will definitely give extra motivation. Just extra motivation for him to keep going and maybe having the team do something. Because Daniel Jones is coming back, and they have, I'd say, a good enough roster with Jonathan Taylor to maybe make something out of this season. And now let's get to the big boys. The two top running backs of the league. They say these two will be the top fantasy running backs. Let's talk about Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs. Let's start off with Bijan Robinson, because he has signed a 3-year, $75 million deal with $51 million guaranteed extension with the Atlanta Falcons, making $22.25 million a year. That was the highest paid contract for a running back before Jahmyr signed his contract. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But this is an incredible price to get Bijan Robinson, who's going to be at the top of the league, top two, maybe one for the for this season. He's an incredible running back. He's shown that since he's came out of Texas, and getting his money now just makes it even better for him and shows us that he is that the Atlanta Falcons do see him as the player that he is, as great as he is. Now let's talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, because Jahmyr Gibbs has signed a 3-year, $67.5 million extension with the Lions with $51.5 million guaranteed, making $22.5 million per year. That is now the highest paid running back contract in NFL history. Yes, in NFL history, Jahmyr Gibbs is at the top of that list. And he's well-deserved of that contract as well, because he's going to be top 2, maybe 1, maybe 2, like Bijan Robinson. And he's going to eat this year because he has no David Montgomery, and Isaiah Pacheco, hasn't been up to a standard as David Montgomery was last year. And Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get so many more touches, and he is going to feast this year. He's going to have an incredible season, an incredible fantasy season. I hope everyone got him in fantasy, because he's going to win the league for you. Him and Bijan might win you the league. That is all for the NFL. Now let's switch off to the MLB. And these are about the MLB trades, because the MLB trade deadline has come and passed. And there's been some crazy trades that has happened. And let's start off with Luis Arias and the Phillies, because Luis Arias and Caleb Killian are now part of the Philadelphia Phillies team, and the Phillies gave up prospects Ramon Marquise and Marty Gare. I think that was a good trade, a perfect trade for both teams. The Giants get extra prospects towards their farm, and the Phillies get that contact hitter that they really needed, and that extra relief pitcher to not put it all on Johan Duran. Luis Arias has already been with us for a few games, and he's already showing out. This trade is a win-win for both teams, but I think this was a big, big win for the Phillies, who really needed this trade to happen. And now let's go to the Boston Red Sox, because even after beating the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are a stacked team already, and we'll talk about a trade they made, they were able to make another trade, a trade to make their team even better, where they traded for catcher Adley Rutschman from the Orioles for top prospects, for pitching prospect Anthony Aronson and some other good players. I think this was a good trade for the Boston Red Sox, who are just trying to make that push to beat the Los Angeles Dodgers. That'll probably be what it's going to be. It's probably going to be Boston and the Los Angeles Dodgers in some sort of playoff format. This just furthers how good they are, and the Orioles getting some top prospects in their farm, maybe making their way up, gives them the chance to have some really good players in their future. And then the final report, the biggest trade of them all. The biggest trade of them all. Adding to the Los Angeles Dodgers is Tariq Skubal. Yes, the Detroit Tigers traded Tariq Skubal to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Yes, it has happened. And Tariq Skubal went to the Dodgers for two right-handed pitchers and an outfielder, Zaire Hope, River Ryan, and Brady Smith. I don't know much about these three prospects, but, adding more farm to the Detroit Tigers is always a plus. But they traded away Tariq Skubal, who's one of the best pitchers right now. And the Dodgers getting him is just making it worse for the league. It put the league on notice that the Dodgers are here and they are trying to win and make another championship, to win their second or third now in a row. It is just crazy what this league is doing and allowing now. And there might be reports that there might be a lockout next year because of this trade. This is crazy. I'll have more reports on the lockout if that actually does happen. But that's all I have for the first episode of the third season of Friday Nights with Jon Gordon. Thank you all for watching. Have a great rest of your time. And please, please subscribe.